Sarah stood at the front door, holding a small bag of gifts. Her body ached from the treatment, but today was special. She was finally going to see Maya. Claire opened the door with a wide smile and a tight hug, saying, "She's been so excited to see you." But Sarah noticed Claire's eyes didn't match her smile. Maya walked in slowly, quiet and pale. Her shoulders were slouched, and her steps were careful. Sarah's heart tightened the moment she saw her daughter. Maya used to run into her arms. Now she barely spoke. "Hi, sweetheart," Sarah said, kneeling slowly and reaching out. Maya hugged her, but it was quick, and she pulled back fast. She looked over at Claire before speaking. "Why can't I go outside, Mom?" Maya asked in a soft whisper. Sarah blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" Maya's eyes dropped to the floor. "I'm not allowed to go outside unless I finish everything. Even then, only if I'm quiet." Claire laughed from behind them. "Oh, she's being dramatic. We just have rules to keep things in order." Sarah looked at Maya again. Her face was too pale, her voice too flat. It was summer, but her skin hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. There were dark circles under her eyes. Her clothes were too small, like no one had noticed. She tried to take Maya's hand, but Maya pulled it away slightly. Sarah felt a sharp pain in her chest that had nothing to do with her illness. She smiled at Claire, hiding her worry. "Can we go out for lunch? Just the two of us?" Claire shook her head. "It's not in the routine. Maya gets anxious when we break the routine." Maya looked away, lips pressed tightly together. Sarah stayed a little longer, watching Maya draw quietly on the table. Claire kept talking, but Sarah couldn't focus. Something was off. Maya wasn't just tired or shy. She was scared, and Sarah could feel it like a weight in her chest. When she finally left, Maya didn't say goodbye. She just waved once, eyes down, hands still holding her pencil. As Sarah walked to her car, her stomach turned. Something was wrong, very wrong. 6 months earlier, Sarah sat at her kitchen table, feeling tired and weak. The stack of medical bills in front of her looked like a mountain she could never climb. Her hands shook as she held her coffee cup. She had just come back from the hospital after another long chemo session. Her body was in pain, and her heart was full of worry. More than anything, she was afraid for Maya. Maya was only 10. She was kind, smart, and full of life. Sarah had always done her best to care for her, even after Maya's father had left years ago. But now, with her cancer getting worse, she wasn't sure how she could keep going. She didn't have the strength to cook, clean, or even get Maya to school on time. She felt like she was failing as a mother. That's when Claire showed up with a warm smile and a hug. Claire had been Sarah's best friend since college. She had always been the one to help during hard times. Claire held Sarah's hand and said, "We'll take Maya like she's our own. You just focus on getting better." At first, Sarah said no. She didn't want to be away from her daughter, but Claire kept speaking gently. "It's just temporary, just until you're strong again. Doug and I will make sure she's safe and happy. You don't need to worry." Claire's husband, Doug, joined them the next day. He brought the papers for guardianship. "It's only to help with school and doctor visits," he explained. "This isn't forever." Sarah looked at the papers. Her head was spinning from the medicine and her body felt so tired. Still, she read what she could. Claire sat beside her, whispering, "She's safest with people who love her." Sarah believed them. She trusted Claire. They had been through everything together. College, heartbreak, motherhood. Claire had always been like a sister. With tears in her eyes, Sarah picked up the pen and signed the papers. She kissed Maya's forehead that night and promised it would only be for a little while. "I'll be back before you know it," she whispered, brushing the hair from Maya's face. Maya smiled and hugged her. Claire and Doug left that night with Maya holding Claire's hand. Sarah watched them from the window, hoping she had made the right choice. She told herself over and over, "It's just for now, just until I get better." But deep down, something didn't feel right. Sarah sat on the couch, watching Maya play quietly with a puzzle. Something felt different. Maya didn't look up much. She kept her eyes on the floor or her hands. When Claire spoke loudly from the kitchen, Maya jumped a little. Sarah noticed it right away. Her daughter had never been like this before. Maya used to be full of smiles and questions. Now she was quiet, like she was scared to say the wrong thing. Sarah smiled and said, "How about we go out for lunch today? Just the two of us?" Maya looked up for a second, then quickly looked over at Claire, who was drying dishes. Claire turned around and said, "That's not part of her routine anymore. She gets overwhelmed when we change things. It's better if she stays here." Sarah frowned. but didn't argue. She didn't want to start a fight, not in front of Maya. Still, it didn't feel right. She remembered how much Maya used to love going to their favorite sandwich place. Now she didn't even smile at the idea. Later that day, Sarah asked about school. "How's Maya doing in class?" Claire waved her hand like it wasn't a big deal. "We homeschool her now. It's better for her. Less pressure." Sarah didn't remember agreeing to that. Maya used to love her teachers and friends. She had been doing well in school. Why change that? That evening, after Sarah returned home, she got a strange message from an unknown number. It said, "Why is your daughter always alone in the backyard at night?" Her heart dropped. She read the message again. Who would say something like that? And why was Maya outside at night? Sarah replied, asking who it was, but no answer came. She sat in the dark, her phone in her hand, her stomach in knots. Maya had looked thinner. Her face was pale and her eyes looked tired. Now this message from a stranger made it worse. Something was wrong. The way Maya moved, the way she stayed quiet, the way Claire answered for her, it all felt wrong. Sarah felt the fear grow inside her. She had trusted Claire, but now doubt filled her heart. The room felt colder than usual as the lawyer flipped through the papers. Each page made the truth harder to hear. Sarah sat across from him, hands shaking slightly. She thought she had only given Claire temporary permission to care for Maya, but the lawyer looked at her kindly and said, "You signed over full physical guardianship. That means they have full control over where she lives, and you can't take her back unless they agree." Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't remember it being that serious. She was sick, tired, and overwhelmed when she signed those papers. Claire had said it was just to help with school and doctors. She never imagined it meant giving up her child completely. When she called Claire to talk, the answer was cold. "You're too sick to take her back," Claire said. "You can't even care for yourself right now." It felt like a slap. Sarah had trusted her, believed her. Claire had been her best friend. Now she was speaking like a stranger. Days passed slowly. Every visit felt shorter, every moment more controlled. Maya didn't talk much, but her drawings began to change. Instead of happy pictures, she started giving Sarah folded drawings with little notes hidden inside. One note said, "They took my phone." Another said, "They locked the door at night." The last one said, "Please get me." Each message broke her heart more. Sarah stared at the paper, hands frozen. Her little girl was asking for help, and she hadn't seen it before. All the signs had been there. The pale skin, the quiet voice, the way Maya looked at Claire before speaking. It wasn't just strict rules or homeschooling. It wasn't a routine anymore. It was control. It was fear. She remembered the message from the neighbor, asking why Maya was outside alone at night. She remembered how Claire had refused to let them go out for lunch. She remembered the way Maya flinched at loud voices. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't love. They weren't helping anymore. They had taken Maya. Sarah sat in silence. The drawings spread out in front of her. Her chest felt heavy, not from illness, but from something deeper, betrayal. She had handed her daughter to the one person she trusted most, and now she was trapped, not just by sickness, but by a legal paper and a broken promise. Something had to change. She couldn't let this continue. Maya needed her, and no matter how sick she was, Sarah knew one thing for sure. She had to fight. The truth became harder to ignore. During another visit, Sarah watched as Maya quietly cleaned up the kitchen, wiped the table, and helped feed Claire's younger children. No one asked her to do it. She just did it like it was expected. Her hands moved quickly, like she'd done it many times before. She didn't act like a child enjoying a visit. She acted like a helper in someone else's home. Later that week, a message came from someone Sarah didn't expect. It was a young woman who used to babysit for Claire's family. The message was short, but terrifying. "I don't know if you know this, but they make Maya do everything. And when she talks back or cries, they send her to the basement. Please check on her." Reading those words made Sarah's chest tighten. Her daughter was being treated like a servant, maybe worse. How had it gone this far without anyone speaking up? When Sarah asked Claire about it, her voice was cool and defensive. "Maya is dramatic," she said. "She exaggerates to get attention. She's been trying to turn people against us for weeks. Honestly, it's exhausting." The words didn't match what Sarah saw. Maya wasn't dramatic. She was quiet, scared, and tired. Sarah knew her daughter. She wasn't making this up. Soon after, another message came, this time from Doug. It was short and direct. "Push this, and we'll say you're unstable. You're still sick, remember? Nobody will believe you. Sarah stared at the screen in shock. The words were a warning, a threat to stay silent. They were trying to scare her into giving up, but fear was turning into anger. She had trusted them. She had given them her child during the hardest time in her life, and now they were using Maya like she didn't matter. This wasn't just control, it was abuse. Each small clue came together like puzzle pieces. Maya's fear, the secret notes, the basement, the cleaning, the threats. It all painted a clear picture. They didn't see Maya as family. They saw her as someone they could control, someone they could use. Sarah knew she couldn't stay quiet any longer. Maya needed her now more than ever. Strength slowly returned to her body. The pain in her bones was still there, but her mind was clear again. Sarah no longer felt like a helpless patient. She felt like a mother ready to fight. Maya needed her, and that was all the reason she needed. The first thing she did was buy a small recorder and a few hidden cameras. She placed them carefully during her visits, inside her bag, on her phone, even in her coat pocket. Every word Claire and Doug said was captured. She kept copies of all the notes Maya had secretly given her, each one folded and hidden in drawings. The messages were clear. Maya was trapped, scared, and alone. Sarah also took pictures of Maya's drawings, some showing bruises, others showing a locked door and a dark basement. The images hurt to look at, but they were the truth. She gathered everything, photos, messages, video clips, and saved them in a folder on her laptop. She knew the law might move slowly, but she had something powerful, the truth. She posted the story online, not under her full name, but with enough detail that people started to listen. She shared Maya's drawings, the messages, and her own words as a mother trying to get her daughter back. Within a few hours, strangers began to share it. Some wrote comments offering support. Others were shocked and angry. By the next day, a local news station had picked up the story. A reporter called Sarah and asked to speak with her. She agreed, sharing more proof, photos of Maya, screenshots of Doug's threatening message, the hidden notes. Claire tried to fight back. She posted online too, saying Sarah was confused, sick, and lying. She said Maya was just going through a hard time and that they had done nothing wrong. But people didn't believe her. The story had spread too far, and the details were too real. 2 days later, a dark car pulled up in front of Claire's house. It was Child Protective Services. They didn't call first. They didn't warn her. They knocked on the door with serious faces and official folders in hand. Claire looked surprised and tried to smile, but Sarah knew the truth had already started to shine through the cracks. No more lies, no more secrets. CPS was here, and they were going to see everything. Sarah stood nearby, heart pounding as they stepped inside. She didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time in months, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The house felt tense as the CPS workers walked through each room. They asked questions, checked the kitchen, the basement, and looked at Maya's room. Claire tried to smile and act normal, but her hands were shaking. Doug stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching closely. Maya sat on the couch, small and quiet. One of the CPS workers knelt beside her and spoke gently. "You can tell us anything. You're safe now." At first, Maya stayed silent. She looked down at her hands, then over at Claire. Her lips trembled. For a moment, it seemed like she wouldn't say anything. But then, in a small voice, she whispered, "I'm scared of them." Everyone went still. Maya continued, a little louder now. "They said if I told anyone, I'd be taken away forever, that I'd go to foster care and never see my mum again." Claire's face turned pale. Doug looked away. The CPS worker nodded slowly and thanked Maya for telling the truth. Then Sarah stepped into the room, holding her phone. She played the recording she had hidden during a past visit. Claire's voice came through, sharp and angry. "She needs to stop acting like a victim." Doug's voice followed louder. "We're doing her a favor. If her mum was well, she wouldn't even be here." There was no way to explain that away. The CPS team stood up and one of them said firmly, "Maya will be leaving with us today." Claire's calm mask broke. Her voice turned high and angry. "You're ruining her life," she shouted at Sarah. "She was doing fine before you came back." Maya ran into her mother's arms, holding on tight. Sarah wrapped her arms around her and whispered, "It's okay, baby. I'm here now." Claire kept yelling as they walked to the door. Doug didn't say a word. Maya didn't look back. She held Sarah's hand, eyes wide but full of relief. As the CPS car pulled away, Sarah sat beside Maya in the back seat. They didn't speak for a while. Maya just leaned against her. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, knowing the fight wasn't over, but her daughter was finally safe. The weeks after Maya came home were full of worry but also strength. Sarah knew Claire and Doug wouldn't give up easily, and she was right. A letter came in the mail from their lawyer. Claire and Doug were trying to sue her for defamation. They claimed Sarah had lied about them and ruined their lives. At first, it made Sarah nervous. She was still tired and healing, but her lawyer told her not to worry. "They don't have a case," he said. "You have the truth on your side." In court, their lawsuit didn't last long. The judge looked through the papers, heard both sides and shook his head. "You want to sue the mother for speaking out about her child's treatment?" he said. "There's more than enough proof to show something was very wrong." He dismissed the case without a second thought. Sarah felt a wave of relief, but she wasn't finished. She had kept everything: pictures of Maya's drawings, the bruises, the recordings, the messages from the former babysitter and the neighbor. She shared more of it with the media, not to be cruel, but to show the truth. People started paying attention again. Reporters followed the story. More people believed Sarah now than ever before. She had stayed quiet too long. Now she was speaking, and people were listening. Claire lost her job at the school where she worked. Parents didn't want someone like her around children. Doug faced bigger trouble. After CPS finished their full report, he was charged with emotional abuse. Sarah didn't cheer or celebrate. She didn't feel happy about what happened to Claire and Doug. But she did feel something else: justice. They had tried to steal her child and scare her into silence. Now, they were the ones facing consequences. Finally, she had her day in court. Not as the one being blamed, but as the one standing up for her child. The judge read through everything and said clearly, "The child will remain with her mother. Full permanent custody is granted to Sarah." Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she held Maya's hand in the courtroom. Maya smiled softly, not fully understanding everything, but knowing she was safe. Outside the court, Sarah took a deep breath. The fight had been long and painful, but it was over. She had won, not with anger or lies, but with truth, love, and a mother's will to protect her child, no matter what. The days after court felt quiet, but heavy. Maya stayed close to her mother. She didn't speak much and often looked over her shoulder, as if expecting something bad to happen. At night, she refused to sleep with the door closed. If it was even halfway shut, she would wake up crying. Sarah kept the light on in the hallway and let Maya sleep in her bed most nights. Maya didn't laugh or play like she used to. She held her stuffed bear tightly and flinched at loud noises. But Sarah didn't rush her. She knew healing would take time. Each day she offered soft words, warm hugs, and her steady presence. Sarah was still healing too. Her body was weak from the treatment. Some days she had to sit down often. Her hands shook when she was tired, but her heart felt stronger. She had her daughter back, and nothing mattered more than that. They didn't go back to their old house. Instead, they moved in with Sarah's sister, Emma. Emma had a small home, but it was warm and welcoming. She made space for them right away. Maya got her own room with bright blankets and soft pillows. Emma helped drive Sarah to her doctor's appointments and made sure they had food and medicine. She treated Maya kindly, never raising her voice or forcing her to talk. Slowly, Maya began to smile again. One morning, Maya asked if she could go outside and ride a bike. It was a small question, but it meant everything. Sarah nodded, holding back tears. She watched as Maya pedaled slowly down the sidewalk, her hair blowing in the wind. For the first time in a long while, she looked free. A few weeks later, Maya started school again. At first she was nervous and quiet. She held Sarah's hand tightly at the school gate, but after a few days, she came home with drawings and stories about a new friend. Sarah hung the drawings on the fridge and praised her gently. They had a long way to go, but they were moving forward, together. One night, as Sarah tucked Maya into bed, the little girl whispered, "Will you stay with me?" Sarah smiled and wrapped her arms around her. "Always," she said. "We're safe now." That night, Maya left the door open just a little, but she fell asleep faster than before. Peace was returning, slowly but surely, and for the first time in a long time, there was hope in their heart. A whole year had passed since Sarah brought Maya back home. Life was not perfect, but it was peaceful. They had found a small apartment near Maya's new school. It was quiet, with a little park nearby where Maya liked to play after class. Every morning, Sarah packed her lunch, braided her hair, and walked her to school. Maya smiled more now. She had new friends, favorite teachers, and a growing love for drawing again. Her laugh was no longer hidden. It came out freely, filling their home with joy. Sarah was stronger too. Her health had improved. The treatments were behind her, and the doctors said she was doing well. Some days were hard, but she never gave up. She had faced illness, pain, and fear, but nothing was worse than the day she thought she might lose her daughter forever. One quiet afternoon, Sarah sat by the window with her laptop. She had been thinking about everything they had gone through. The memories still hurt, but now they also reminded her how far they had come. She opened a blank page and began to type. They promised to care for her, she wrote. Instead, they caged her. I lived through cancer and through betrayal, and I got my daughter back. She paused, reading the words slowly. Then she added, I will never stop protecting her. She posted it online, not for attention, but for truth. Others needed to know what had happened, and how a mother's love had broken through lies and fear. Maya walked into the room, holding a drawing. It was of her and Sarah standing in front of their new home, smiling, with a big sun in the sky. She handed it over and said softly, I'm not scared anymore. Sarah hugged her tightly. You never have to be, she whispered. They sat together for a while, holding hands. No more locked doors, no more fear, no more hiding. Outside the sun was setting. The sky turned soft orange and pink. It was quiet, calm, and safe. Sarah looked at her daughter and felt a peace she hadn't known in years. Maya had come through the darkness and into the light. As Sarah closed her laptop, she added one final line to her post, words that came from deep in her heart. They'll never get near her again. Do you think Sarah did the right thing by fighting back? Or should she have trusted Claire a little longer before taking action? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd really love to hear what you think. And if you want more emotional and powerful stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment.